Africa, historically, sub-Saharan Africa has been fundamental to the global prosperity of the advanced countries. Okay? And Africa had a role to play. It has a role as a raw material producer. We will not allow sub-Saharan Africa to escape that. Okay, we do everything to keep sub-Saharan Africa where it is, also impoverished. It's absolutely vital for the prosperity of everyone else. Okay, we give them aid. Aid for what? Actually, we give them aid to keep repressive regimes in power. That's all. Okay, we're not giving them aid for much more except a little bit of infrastructure to make sure those raw materials get to the ports and aren't gotten out of the ground. But for the most part, we give repressive regimes money and power and guns to keep that system going. This is what it's fundamentally about. All the hypocrisy about transparency and democracy and bullshit like that, it's all bullshit. You know? And at least the Chinese don't enter into that bullshit. They say, we don't care about the whole political environment, we just give the money. Okay? And it's for raw material extraction, period. I was telling some of my students today, was it today or yesterday, about Confessions of an Economic Hitman. Do you remember this? Have any of you heard of this one? Confessions of an Economic Hitman. It's a book written by John Perkins, who used to work for a very nebulous, opaque bank. No one had ever heard of this bank, but it was formed in the 1950s by the IMF, the CIA, and the American State Department. And it had only one job: to lend money to developing countries that were raw material producers in order to indebt them. Once you are in my debt, I control you. Okay? And this bank had 4,000 employees. But no one ever heard of this bank, you see. But it would go to country after country offering loans. And if the president did not accept the loan, they were killed. And he gives two examples of presidents who were killed when they did not accept the loan. You see, the lending is also very important to trap the country. It's very important. It's part of that process.
So guys, there you see Professor Howard Nicholas. He was giving this brilliant speech. I will put the link in the description for the full video, but I just take this part of it to prove a point that the world giving African countries aid was never in any way, shape or form to help the countries. Always to keep those countries under the thumb. And notice it, they always give aid to dictator regimes. Like, they always give aid to countries that's destabilized economically wise and always have infighting. And then, but they make sure they put their bases in such countries to protect the resources. That's it. That's what France was doing in Mali and Burkina Faso recently. That's why they get put out, because they are there to help the country to fend off invasion, but yet you have invasion keep happening and people still getting kidnapped and all of this. And you're there, but they're only there to protect French interests. America does this. All over Africa, when they only give aid, they only give enough money, just enough money to keep the country afloat, but not enough money to build infrastructure to grow the economy, even though they have resources and they are one of the richest continent on the planet. And as the professor said, the West cannot and will never survive without African resources. Okay? Without Africa, most modern projects can come to fruition without the help, the aid of African resources. And this is well documented and this is well known. So in order to keep that going, you have to keep sub-Saharan Africa poor and in turmoil and always at war. You always try to pin countries against countries so they don't have no time they don't have the time to put their attention to the resources and pay attention to the countries who are taking it, but they kind of infighting. So the IMF now and the World Bank, these countries are both, these banks are both criminal organization run by the EU and the West. They're all the powers to be. The ones who, the rich, the billionaires and the millionaires, they come together and they try to control the food, the electricity, everything that have to do with Africa, they try to control it. So for instance, one country doing banana or wheat, they try to make sure you have to sell the same wheat, the same banana. You cannot expand and do a different variety, because then now this qualify you from getting what do you call the word I'm looking for? When they word come up to me, grants. You can't get grants if you don't do certain things that they say they do, they want you to do. So the IMF, when they come into any country, notice it, the countries always become worse off. It's never better off because of these loans that they give to tie these countries to IMF. And yet they want to blame China for debt traps, when IMF have been doing this for decades, giving countries like African countries enough money, not enough money to really make a difference, but enough money for it to be difficult to repay and to keep them under their thumbs, and to make these countries now put laws and regulations into law for these countries to come and take resources. That's it. That's basically what they're doing to Africa. But with the uprising right now that's going on in Africa, where countries are actually starting to trade with each other, doing businesses with each other. The presidents are cooperating, like for instance, the African Union. With these countries now turning their forces, turning their economies to each other to help grow each other without using the West aid or the West assistance, this is what the West is fighting against. And this is why they are trying their best not to destabilize these said countries like Zimbabwe, Ghana, Uganda, South Africa, and those countries, because they realize that if these countries become independent and their economy grow, they know that they don't need them, and they know they can take back their resources and make it actually help the continent, not actually sending everything to overseas and to refine overseas, and there's no factories there, and then they say, oh, Africa is poor and they don't have they can't refine these things because they don't have the capability or the education. When in fact the system was designed to make these countries don't elevate. But now, modern times, because of social media, YouTube and these things, they make the West now cannot paint this narrative and the media. Africa is poor, they are starving, there are disease infected, there are disease infections all over the continent. But they're not showing the beauty of the continent, where they have these mega cities, great infrastructure. Kenya just recently have launched the train tracks from Kenya to China to the Horn of Africa, and Uganda, Rwanda, and these countries now, they're all interlinked now via the train system that the Chinese helped to design. And now they have their own grids, they have their own electrical grids, their own oil refineries, they refine. Lithium now is a big thing going on in Africa, lithium, so everybody wants lithium, but Zimbabwe holding lithium, banned from exporting. So if you want the lithium, you have to come and sign deals with African countries that has lithium to refine it in said countries before we can take it and go, so we can get revenues and all the good stuff that comes with refining your own resources. So as I said earlier, I will put the link in the description for you to go and finish watching that speech. Watch it, it's a good speech by Professor Howard Nicholas. So anyway, thanks for watching. If you don't know, it's the Washington SXM podcast. Peace, one love, boom.